This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We race to the airport in Brownsville along the U.S.-Mexico border, to catch our flight back to New York. The airport has two airlines, American and United. The CEO of United put out a statement saying, based on our serious concerns about this policy, how it's in deep conflict with our company's values, we've contacted federal officials to inform them they should not transport immigrant children on United aircraft who have been separated from their parents. Well, that left American Airlines to transport children, and apparently a number of them have been transported. We sat down at Amelia's Cafe with a waiter at the cafe. He nervously agreed to describe what he'd seen. Have you seen children coming through, unaccompanied, separated children?
Yes, since I started working here in April, I have seen like at least cases like that at least twice every month. The adults, when they come here, they come and they order their food here, and usually the kids. Most of the time, they just leave them over there. It's very rarely that somebody comes and buys them food too. But most of the time, they're over there and they're all wearing the same shirt, color, and everything.
These are the separated children, and the adults come here to the cafe and they have their breakfast or whatever, but they're not getting food for the kids.
No, most of the time, no. It's very rarely that that happens.
Did you ever ask for the kids to be brought here so they could eat?
The first time, yes, because I didn't know what it was, who they were. I thought they were from a school program or something, and then they told me that they were from the separated kids that they were bringing over here, and that they were not supposed to like buy or bring food for them.
And how did they look? First of all, how old were the children?
Most of them, the oldest I have seen probably will be 10 or 11 years old at most. Most of them are young kids. And like they're all very serious. They're not smiling or anything. They're all very serious. Look in their faces, and they always obey what they tell them to do. They're always sitting down there silently without like speaking up or anything.
How does it make you feel?
Well, to be honest, I feel like kind of heartbroken because they're very, very young kids that I bet they don't even know what's going on yet. And it's not like it's their fault that they're here in the first place. And for them to be going through that, like I don't wish that upon anybody.
Are they girls or boys?
Both sexes, equally. I would say they're both sexes equally.
And what have they been wearing?
They wear regular shirts like the one I'm having, but they're color. Like,
they're T-shirts?
Yeah, T-shirts.
And what about their pants?
Their pants, they are khaki, like pants.
All the same?
All the same.
And where are they going?
Well, they never tell me where they take them. They just tell me that they're the kids that are from separate. They never disclose any information from there.
So they fly them through the airport at what time?
They usually at the very first flight that goes in the airport.
In the morning?
Yeah, the very first flight in the morning. The first flight usually is around 11 in the morning.
Have you ever gotten to talk to any of the children?
No, because like I said, most of the time they're outside and I can't leave my workplace in here.
Most of the time they're right out in this waiting room here?
Yeah, lobby right here in the airport.
And they just all sit next to each other?
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes.
The people who are in charge of them sit here and have
breakfast?
So how does it make you feel?
Like I said, it makes me feel heartbroken seeing that, seeing little kids go through that. It's very sad, and it really makes me feel sad for them because, like I said, I bet they don't even know what's going on in their lives. And it's not even their fault that they're here in the first place, so I just hope they can make it through.
Do you know where they're coming from?
No, like I said, they don't tell me anything.
Do you know, like, if they come from Southwest Key, from the old Walmart?
Well, no, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'm sorry about that.
Do you know what countries they're from?
Well, yeah, they're both. From what they told me, they're from like South American countries.
You said that children, it looks like the oldest are like 10 and 11. How old are the youngest?
The youngest, I would say they're 4 to 5 because they're already walking and everything. Yeah, so they're 4 to 5 years old. The oldest.
And are they helping each other? Or are they taking care of each other?
Yeah, they're always together. They're always, everybody's like always holding hands or hanging in there when they're waiting in there before they're ready to board.
And do you know where they're flying to?
No, I don't know. They don't tell me that. Even when I ask them, they don't tell me that.
And how long has it been going on for, ever since you got here?
Well, yeah, ever since I started here, like I have seen that. I started working down here in April, but I bet the woman that used to work before here used to tell me that it used to happen before too.
Did it get more frequent in the last weeks?
Yeah, I would say yeah, because before it used to be like I said, twice a month at most. But now, like, usually, like, at least once a week, sometimes even.
But now, more recently, in the last few days, did it happen?
Yeah, and the last time they happened, it was like 3 days ago that I worked. And that's when I saw it.
3 days ago, just like a few days ago from today.
Yeah.
Earlier this week.
Yeah, earlier this week.
How does it affect people in the airport?
Well, nobody ever says anything here, I guess, because it's not. I guess they're not supposed to, right? They would look bad if they say anything like that. But like but from like my other coworkers, when we talk about it, yeah, it also like affects them, even though this has nothing to do with them, but it still affects them. Seeing like that every day, right? Well, not every day, but like every time they come here.
When you hear about the old Walmart and then at the Southwest Key facility where 1,400 kids are being held in cages, do you know about that?
At first, I didn't know about it until recently when they started telling me about that. When I heard about it, I was like, I didn't believe it. Or I guess I didn't want to believe it because it sounded so horrible, But it's something that I hope that, like I said, doesn't happen to anybody. It's something so horrible like that. I mean, they're human beings too.
Does any kids stand out for you? Someone you saw over there sitting just beyond this cafe?
Well, kids that come with their brothers, I would say, because when you see two kids that are related, like brother, sister, sister, they're taking care of each other. They're always hugging, the other one is always hugging the little one, and I guess making him feel safe.
That's Santiago, waiter in the cafe at the Brownsville airport. When we went through the TSA line to our gate, there were UMs, unaccompanied minors, in the waiting area. Democracy Now!'s Laura Gottesdiener, you spoke to them in Spanish.
Yeah, I spoke to a 16-year-old boy from Guatemala. He'd been in Casa Padre in the old Walmart for 3 months. He had not been separated from his parents, but what he said really stood out is that a number of the other boys that he was jailed with had been separated, and they had started to receive calls from their parents who had already been deported back to Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras.
And then we went from on the plane with them. Their minder did not want us to talk. She was from Southwest Key, to these boys. At the airport in Dallas, when we got to our American Airlines gate, there is another row of at least 6 children. They weren't wearing the typical uniform of the sweatshirt and the sweatpants. They had different clothes, but they all had their new slip-on sneakers carrying plastic bags of food like pre-made sandwiches. Again, you were interrupted when you tried to talk to the kids, Laura.
Yeah, these kids were about maybe 5 and 6 years old. The oldest was maybe 11 or 12 or possibly 13. They all had plastic bags with snacks. They all wore the exact same shoes. And when I asked the oldest one, where are you guys headed? She looked at me, she said, I don't know. And that's when the man who said he was a social worker who was accompanying them interrupted me and said, you can't speak to them because of the situation, he called it.
The situation?
Yeah, I asked him repeatedly, I said, what situation? He said, the situation.
And he referred to himself as a social worker.
He said he was a social worker.
And clearly these kids were going to Newark. Final comment, Renee, as we wrap up this piece, and we will post the full interview with the waiter, Santiago.
Well, it's going to be a tough road moving forward for the parents and the children to be reunited, to move forward in their legal cases. There's a lot of confusion about who can talk to who, how can they find each other.
The deadline for reuniting these kids with their parents
coming up in about a week
is next July 10th. That's in a few days for under 5-year-olds and 2 weeks later. Government not telling us what's happening.
Not telling us and don't seem to have any plan.
And the end of that story of the USS St. Louis, the Jews turned back by the United States during World War II.
More than 200 of the Jews were killed in the Holocaust.
And that does it for our show. Democracy Now! Produced by Mike Burke, Renee Feltz, Nermeen Sheikh, Carla Wills, Laura Gottesdiener, Sam Alkoff, John Hamilton, Robbie Karen, Hani Massoud, Janitra Nadura, Nat Needham, Libby Rainey, Dennis Moynihan. Special thanks to Julie Crosby. I'm Amy Goodman. This is Democracy Now! To see our full coverage of the border, go to democracynow.org. Tomorrow, a special on July 4th. Hear the speech of Frederick Douglass.